Hi, my name's Betty. I'm a grateful person in recovery. I'm a divine spiritual being living a temporary human experience, and I'm here to make a video about choosing challenges in life. So, I am a person who has been in recovery from my drug addiction for the last 4 years. I've been in eating disorder recovery for about a year and a half, and I've had a lot of adversity in my life. My parents both committed suicide when I was 23 years old. I had a very dark, challenging life with addiction and prostitution, dereliction, degradation. And then I had this really transformative spiritual experience, a near death like experience. I had overdosed in 2019. And in my spiritual experience, my time in heaven, I was shown that I, as a soul, had chosen all of these adverse things in my life for the evolvement of my spiritual self. And this was like a really challenging belief to integrate into my life. I mean, I was sexually abused as a small child, an adolescent, a young adult. I was physically and emotionally abused for most of my life, from my parents to boyfriends and just relationships. Like, I've picked some really challenging partners in my life. So, having to believe that I actually chose all of that, my higher self chose all of that, didn't make any sense to me. And so every time that I do a video and I share my testimony about my near death experience, I get a lot of comments that are like, well, what about Hitler? What about children dying? Nobody would ever choose to be a murderer. Why did the Holocaust happen? And so I want to make a video about my understanding of why those things happen. So people choose contrasted experiences in order to bring in more light. Right now, we're in the midst of the Great Awakening. It's the most exciting time to be on Earth, so they say, because we're in the midst of transformation. We're transcending from a level of third dimensional thinking to fifth dimensional thinking. We're going from ego centered thinking to spirit minded thinking. We're breaking down societal constructs that no longer serve our collective. We've been doing it for generations and generations. The first like generation that really sort of like paved the way for social constructs being dismantled was, like in the late 60s, like the psychedelic like revolution, and like this mass awakening happening for first wave volunteers. If nothing I'm saying makes any sense, I'll tell you some of the literature that I came across that helped me get a deeper understanding, and I just had to educate myself, like I had received a lot of downloads of information, a lot of things came into my conscious awareness, and I needed validation that what I was thinking or believing was true. So there's waves of volunteers that have come here to uplift the consciousness of the planet. Dolores Cannon has a lot of information. She's written a lot of books about these waves of volunteers and about the continuation of consciousness, the true nature of reality. As far as the pre-birth planning information goes, I read Michael Newton and Robert Schwartz. Their books just solidified all of the things that I had already known from my own experience. So the reason why people choose these contrasted experiences is to bring in more light. So like for me, I am a light bringer. I am a light worker. I am here to hold light. And if you're watching this video, you're probably here on the exact same mission, because you cannot perceive that with which you are not in vibration with. So if you are perceiving me, then we are in vibration with one another. So, like I experienced all of this denseness so that my remembrance could be that much more impactful, and that I could never forget again who I truly am, which is the divine, sovereign being, here only for a temporary amount of time just to experience. And the same thing goes for people who have paved the way for social change. So, like for instance, the Holocaust, all of those souls signed up to be part of that mission together. They wanted to experience this together. And then they all, yeah, they went home together. They've come back together. Like this is what we do as these collective forces. And the same thing with like, tragedies with children. And this is not something that you tell somebody who's grieving. Like people are allowed to be in their grief, but what would it be like if we believed that we had chosen all these things in our life? Could we have a little bit more acceptance? I'll just speak for me. Like, I have a lot more acceptance in my life today when things don't go the way that my ego, my human, thinks that they should go. Obviously, I want things to go awesome. I want to be rich. I want to be famous. I want to have a hot boyfriend. I want to have all the things. That's what my ego wants. My ego wants materialism, consumerism, and the things that society says makes a life worth living. My spirit wants peace, acceptance, gratitude, generosity, empathy, these things that don't really have any like outward tangible appearance, but they make my life so much more beautiful and just like so much freer. So because I live my life in this vibration of this belief that everything is planned, I don't have to worry about anything because I can't do much about anything anyway. So I had to pause the recording because I thought I was going to sneeze, but I didn't. um, so yeah, like me living in this belief, oof, my life is so much happier. And we get to construct our beliefs. So if you think this is a belief that might help you, take it. Take it. If you don't like it, leave it. Like that's the thing about like sovereignty. This topic has come up in some of my spiritual communities lately, is that every living conscious being is on their own journey. Like, I do not have to fix, manage, and control anything that anybody thinks. And I just got done doing a podcast interview, and the person was talking about like, what do we do to ensure that people will change? We don't have to do anything. Like, change is coming no matter what. Like, I am set up in position to be there for when people need me. They will find me. Source will put me in people's lives that I'm meant to be in. And that's it. Like, I don't need to preach or teach or proselytize. I can just be a shining example of what recovery looks like. Let me show you what I looked like. You know what? I don't have it open. So let me pause this and do that. This is fun. All right. I want to show you guys what I looked like in active addiction. This is me. This is me a little over 4 years ago. So this is me in 2019. And in just 4 years, I have went from being that person to being this person. And that's only through, this system of belief that I've been able to construct for myself. I fill myself with information that lights me up. I don't get weighed down. I haven't watched the news in 4 years. I don't I don't make things in my life more complicated than they are. I just try to go with the flow. And it's a situation to situation thing. Like, I'm not perfect. I still get wrapped up in like trying to control situations and even manipulate situations sometimes. But I just keep doing the next right thing. I do work to enable my spiritual growth. I work the 12 steps in a 12-step program. Anybody can work the 12 steps. You don't have to have an addiction to do the 12 steps. It's just about turning things over to something greater than yourself. It could just be obsessive thoughts. I also study A Course in Miracles, which is a metaphysical text. There's a workbook in it. So every day I make sure to read some of that sacred text. And, I'm very involved in my other communities, and I make sure to give back in service every opportunity that I have because it makes my life freer. I love being able to give back to other people because the universe has given me so much. Even when I feel like it hasn't, it really has. It's given me an opportunity just to live a life, like being a human on earth is cool sometimes, and sometimes it's not cool. But most of the time, like just to think that I've chosen to be on earth at the same time as you. Like, we have chosen to be here together for something. And that's just so cool. Out of the billions of lives that there are, like over the course of all of humanity, like we have chosen to be incarnate at this exact time together for some specific reason. And if you feel like you're looking for that reason, please reach out to me. I'd love to help you discover what that is. And if you're just looking to connect with other spiritual people, I'm a part of so many spiritual communities. Please reach out to me and let me give you some resources. I love being able just to sort of put people in the places where I feel called to and just let them check out different communities. So I just wanted to make that video and just talk about the reason why we choose hardships. It's all for the greater good of humanity, for our own ancestral line, and for our divine sovereignty, our own being. So thanks so much. Be wavy.